Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
So, after a brutal week in the Tory party, the leadership candidates are all out making their pitch for the top job in British politics. Conservative MPs get to whittle a short list of 5 down to 2 who will then face a ballot of the party's wider membership. This is what we've heard from them so far this morning.
We need to seize the opportunity. It's not just about leaving the EU, but it's about giving certainty to businesses. It's about saying to the world, we're open for business. Let's get some free trade agreements started as soon as we can. It's about saying to young people, we're sorting out the issues around competition from EU migrants for your jobs. You know, businesses need to upskill British workers. So we just need to get on with it. We need to get a grip and make progress.
We need to establish our own negotiating position. Of course, once we hit Article 50, once we invoke that, the process at the EU level starts. They say that that could take up to 2 years. What's important for us, though, is that we get the right deal. And that's a deal which is about controlling free movement, but it's also about ensuring that we've got the best deal possible in trade in goods and services.
I didn't want to be in this position, and if I'd wanted to be leader, if my sole ambition was place and position, if I just wanted the glory in the job, then I would have declared my candidacy last week when so many friends were urging me to do so. But I put my own personal ambition to one side and did what I thought was right for the country. And now I'm entering this race because I think the next leader of the country needs to be someone who believes heart and soul that Britain should be outside the European Union.
We're all committed now to taking Britain out of the European Union. We all stood on a manifesto, all Conservative MPs, to hold a referendum and to abide by the outcome of that referendum. So we all share a commitment to taking Britain out of the EU. That's what builds trust, and I think what really builds trust with members and with the country at large is showing now that we've got a clear idea for how we're going to do it and what our principles will be that will guide the negotiated exit.
4 of those who would be our next Prime Minister. We'll be talking to Liam Fox in a moment. He's the 5th, but let's go to the panel. How about I sum up this morning and see if you agree or not? Theresa May consolidated her front-runner status. Andrea Leadsom performed in a way that suggested she wasn't quite ready for prime time, and Michael Gove cannot escape the manner in which he has become a candidate.
I think that's fair. I mean, I think certainly in relation to Michael Gove, what we've seen this morning is him desperately trying to persuade the nation that the way he behaved was reasonable and had nothing to do with his personal ambition. I think the big question is not whether it was reasonable or to do with his personal ambition, but whether it was actually an honourable way to behave. And I think most of us who know Michael would have thought up until now that he is an honourable person, a man of principle, but he can't get away from the fact of the manner in which he did it at the last possible moment, which was guaranteed to create a very, very ugly situation for Boris Johnson.
And this morning, instead of wanting to try and talk about his vision for Britain, what he would do if he was Prime Minister and so on, again and again he had to come back and defend his behaviour over last weekend and in through the week.
Absolutely. So he is now, whether he likes it or not, the Ed Miliband of the Conservative Party. That is absolutely the narrative put across him. Ed Miliband killed his brother David, he killed his brother-in-arms, Boris Johnson, and Michael Gove's great problem, I think, and he is an interesting candidate for this election. Very different to Theresa May, the radical, the huge sort of explosive entry into politics, the big shake-up the country needs to get out of the European Union, but he has got dead bodies piling up in mounds behind him. David Cameron, the European Union, quite a big body, and now Boris Johnson. And
even George Osborne, who was his friend.
George Osborne, who's,
I mean,
yeah,
Aberdeen Grammar School boy gets hat-trick of Bullingdon boys, takes all 3 out. Cameron,
it's an extraordinary
Johnson,
record. Whatever
Osborne.
you think of it, the man is extraordinary, what he's done. But I don't see how on earth he can move away from that and park that in the next
But it may not help him, Helen.
But the person who's got to be worried, really worried now, is Andrea Leadsom, because she is prime target number 1. Whatever you think about Michael Gove's eventual chances of success, the one thing he has proved is that he's exceptionally good at taking people's legs out from underneath them. And Andrea Leadsom and he are competing for the crown of the true Leave champion. That is Michael Gove's pitch, if it's not about all the people he's knifed along the way. And so she has got to be target number 1 for him.
And she got into a little bit of trouble this morning on tax returns.
Well, I mean, there have been a rumbling issue with Andrea Leadsom and offshore trusts, and, you know, this is something that's not new. There's also this question mark over what she may or may not have said a couple of years ago about whether she really thinks that Brexit is a good idea. I disagree with the negative assessment of Andrea Leadsom. I think she's an extremely impressive person, and I think she does still have a good chance here because she can cast herself as a true Brexiteer who is undamaged like Michael Gove by the events of the last week.
But it would have to be her or Mr Gove, wouldn't it, as the
It
true
would, and
Brexiteer?
don't underestimate the operation now to stop Mr Gove getting onto the last two.
There's a big stop Gove. There's all this talk that if Theresa May is such a front runner in the MPs elections, that in the end won't go to the country. Now that may be a bit of a stretch, but let me put this to you, that if it's two Remainers, if it's, say, in the final two, Theresa May and Stephen Crabb, but Theresa May's way ahead, it may not go to the country. But if it's a Remainer, Mrs May, and a Brexiteer, Andrea Leadsom or Michael Gove, it has to go to the Tory party in the country.
And that is exactly the dynamic that's going to play out over the next 12 days amongst the Tories in the Commons. It's absolutely fantastic. See, what you've just done there, I'm afraid, Andrew, is committed the mistake that Stephen Crabb only this morning has said that everyone needs to move on from, which is the difference between Leavers and Remainers in the Tory party. Now, everybody is Brexiteers these days because of the referendum, but it serves the likes of Michael Gove and Andrea Leadsom extremely well to say, no, actually we're still two camps, we need one of us on the list. And if Tory MPs can move on quickly from the Great Divide, then we could easily see two Remainers and the Theresa coronation. If they can't, and the likes of you ask incredibly difficult questions like that, then I cannot see anything but Theresa May and Michael Gove or Andrea Leadsom on the final ticket, because the Tory Parliamentary Party will simply want that so for their members.
If you think Tory MPs are going to move on from the issue that has divided them for over a generation, I have a bridge to sell you.
I know. I mean, I wish that we would in a way, but I think Tom's exactly right, because the problem is that we voted for Brexit. We didn't vote for any particular form of Brexit. No. And I think that's what this will come down to, particularly the issue of freedom of movement. It will be what type of Brexit are you offering? And one side, the original Leavers, will probably end up offering a far stronger, full-fat version of Brexit than the other side.
Give me a name just for now. We won't hold it to you. Who's going to win?
Well, it looks like Theresa May.
Shall I just say Andrea Leadsom, just to be exciting? Just because otherwise it's boring if everyone says the same name all the time. Yes, I'm going to say it.
Boringly, Theresa May.
Okay, 2-1. And you're just being contrarian.
I am.
But we shall see. Long way to go.